Welcome, Greek U Nation, to episode number 284 of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Ayalon, CEO of Greek University. I'm a speaker and a two-time author. Our second book is called From Letters to Leaders, Redefining New Member Education and Leveraging Belonging to Eliminate Hazing. It is available now. Pick that up on Amazon today. We call these episodes the Fraternity Foodie Podcast because there is nothing like great food to bring college students together. Fun fact, I talk about the dangers of social media within fraternity and sorority life all the time. Please don't fool yourself into thinking that there is any privacy on the internet. There is none. Anyone can screenshot something and send that to the local paper, to the university. I've even seen private Facebook pages get infiltrated when a brother was hazing new members in his private Facebook page on a campus computer. He stands up to use the bathroom without signing out, and another student sits down in front of the computer, discovers all of this hazing activity, which then they promptly sent to the university administration. So, number one, do not do anything that is against the values of your organization. Number two, do not assume there is any privacy at all on social media at any time. To talk more about this, our next guest is Ruth B. Carter, Esquire. Here's what they are really good at. Number one, persuasive writing, like nastygrams and court filings. Yes. Contracts, including terms of service and privacy policies, they use past work as guidance. Number three, USPTO Trademark Applications, including keeping you informed throughout the process, even when the update is, there really is no update. And number four, explaining how the law works in plain English. I love it. They get to work on challenging projects, and they get to help people in a way that they often can't do for themselves. The areas of IP and internet law are constantly evolving, and the law at best is barely keeping up with technology. Here to talk more about that is Ruth B. Carter, Esquire. Welcome to the show, Ruth.
Hello, Mike. Thank you so much for having me on your show.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love your YouTube channel. I love everything about you. So refreshing. I love the plain English explanation of the law because boy, oh boy, that is complicated stuff to read, very dry. No college student wants to read through that stuff. So to have somebody make sense of it is just a wonderful, wonderful thing. Now, you got the HBS degree and a master's degree from Oregon State. What made you choose Oregon State?
So when I was a junior in high school and picking the colleges that I was considering applying to, I cross-referenced two things. I wanted a school with a competitive gymnastics program, and I wanted a school with a good chemistry program. And so that's how I got my list of schools that I applied to. And when it came down to making the decision, I had to choose between Oregon State and the University of Michigan. And at the time, it was still snowing in Michigan, and I'm from California. So it's like, we're going to Oregon State. And it turned out that by the time I graduated, my gymnastics career was basically over because I stress fractured my back. And 2 years into my college career, I changed my major. So thankfully, Oregon State's an amazing school. And the way I got there seems a little backwards now, but it all worked out.
It all worked out clearly. And yes, Ann Arbor in Michigan gets super cold in the wintertime. Oh my goodness. Somebody from California, no, I don't, not a good fit right there. All right, so then you got your JD from Arizona State College of Law, another beautiful campus. What made you get into the legal field?
So I had been working in mental health for 9 years. I liked being in a position where I was in a helping profession, but being trapped in an office all day, asking people about their feelings was no longer the right fit for me. And I really didn't know what I wanted to do. And a family friend said, you can't go wrong with a law degree. So I said, perfect, let's go to law school. I will have 3 years to figure out this career crisis. I was living in Phoenix at the time, and I didn't want to move. So I only applied to Arizona State Law School, and thankfully they let me in.
Perfect. All right. Listen, that makes a lot of sense to me. You can't go wrong with the law degree. Good advice. Absolutely good advice. Now, you do lots of social media law work today. So I kind of alluded to it a little bit in the beginning in the intro, but what are some things that college students listening right now should be posting online, and what should they not be posting online, more importantly?
So I have two rules of thumb when it comes to posting things online.
Mhm.
My first rule is don't post anything online that you wouldn't put on the front page of the newspaper. That way, if anyone wants to bring up something that you've posted in any context for the rest of your life, you're prepared to own it. It's like, yeah, like, did you post this? Like, yeah, I did. I own, own it.
Mhm.
My other rule is assume everything you post online is going to be seen by the following four people: your best friend, your worst enemy, your boss, and your mother. If you don't want one of those people seeing what you're thinking about posting, don't put it out there.
Perfect advice. I mean, perfect advice. I can't think of a better group of people to think about, other than your best friend, your mom, your boss. I mean, this is exactly who we need to be thinking about. This is perfect.
It's a really simple litmus test that
Yeah,
if you're comfortable with that group of people seeing it,
then go for it.
it's probably okay.
Very good. So let's talk about the boss a little bit more. I think this is interesting. Can employers use your social media posts in order to make hiring decisions about you? What about if they terminate after they hire you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's if it's on the internet, regardless of privacy settings, it's public. So yeah, if it's in a Google search, or think of it like it's on the front page of the newspaper and that anybody can see it.
Mhm.
So absolutely, just like they might check your references, they're going to look you up, and
Yeah.
they might go on social media sites, put in your name and see what pops up to see how are you presenting yourself to the internet public, and is that somebody they want to have inside their organization.
Mhm.
The same is true about firing, especially if you are an at-will employee, where you can be fired for any reason or no reason at all. No reason, or any reason. There's a limited list of things they can't fire you for, like disability, veteran status, race, religion, etc. But
Mhm.
otherwise, um, if they if you make a post about your favorite sports ball team and they don't like that, they could fire you for that. Or there have been some epic stories out there of people putting out a post about, oh, I'm starting my new job at XYZ company. This is going to suck. And the boss, I've seen it, and they'll respond to their post with, actually, you're not. Don't bother coming in. You're fired.
Oof.
So
Wow.
yeah, absolutely. You could be hired or fired based on what you put out there.
Yeah, that's really important for us to think about, especially now with the rise of TikTok. I mean, TikTok, people go there because they want to be entertained. And so people, I think, feel pressure, to get likes and comments and other things, and they're doing some wild activity. But we have to think about the future. We have to think about jobs, careers, all of those things. Does this make sense for this to be out there? And so, I really like the discussion. I think it's super important. And you bring up a great point. There are so many states out there that are at will states. I live in Nashville, Tennessee. So Tennessee is one of those at will states. If your employer, if you walk in the door and you are wearing a tie that is a University of Georgia tie, and they don't like it because they're a UT grad, they can fire you. I mean, people don't understand this is at will employment. And so please be careful about the choices that you're making, because it really doesn't take a whole heck of a lot to get fired in an at-will state. It's
No.
just, it's whatever it is, it is. So, okay, so that's really good for us to know and to clear up. Now, talk to us a little bit about the dangers of revenge porn. What are some of the scenarios that have come up in your experience, and what is your advice for the students who are listening right now in this area?
All right. So for any of your listeners who may be living under a rock, revenge porn is when somebody has entrusted you with a nude image of themselves, or they have been a voluntary participant in creating photos or videos, while you're being intimate, and it's somebody posting that online without the people depicted's consent. So that's revenge porn. This is a legal issue in that many states have passed a law regarding revenge porn. And so what the law says you can and can't do from a criminal perspective may differ depending on where you live. But there are some other catch-all laws like infliction of emotional distress that even if you haven't technically committed a crime, you could still find yourself being sued. But let's just kind of just back it up and look at this situation as a human. Mm-hmm. If you are lucky enough to have someone send naked pictures of themselves, or if you want to make a video or photos, let's assume you're not one of those creepy people who does it, with a hidden camera, because that's disgusting. Mm-hmm. You are a lucky person. I know men as a species are very visual, so they like looking at pictures of naked people. I respect that. And the last thing you want to do is turn around and share it with people. Don't send it, don't show it to your buddies, don't send it out, don't put it on that private Facebook group that you're part of, or whatever social media platform we're all on next, because there is no expectation of privacy, and then you're going to get the reputation of being the guy who can't be trusted with nudes, so don't send them. And just, what does that say about you as a person? About you have no integrity if that is how you behave, so, and you're not trustworthy. So what does that say about you as a human? Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, these things happen. You also want to be careful about any website that you think is like a one and done. I once met with a couple. This is, it's revenge porn light, or like, but not exactly. They found a website where you could broadcast yourself during sexy time, and there may have been a little alcohol involved, and they clicked accept on the terms of service they didn't read, and they thought that it was just going to be a one-time live show and it would disappear. Terms of service said, we actually keep recordings of all this and make it available in the future. Wow. And I met with them and I said, please tell me you didn't use your real names. And they said, no. I was like, okay, thank goodness. So then if your buddy sees it, if they're going to tell you about it, that means they also have to admit, I was on this website watching videos of other people having sex. Not that we're all not, looking at porn on occasion. So, but, yeah, so it's, it's a challenging situation when you're dealing with it. I get emails all the time from people saying, I did this, or I sent photos to somebody and now they're demanding money, or they're going to share it. They're going to send it to my family. They're going to send it to my boss. What I tell people, if you're in that situation, is that, like if someone came to me and said, oh, I've seen you naked, I would respond with, I see me naked every day. It's called taking a shower. Mm-hmm. And so I try to take the wind out of their sail and be like, if you see me in a bathing suit, you know what I look like naked. But not everyone is as, I don't know, bold or blunt as I am. And so I look at this situation as, it's not as, yes, it is a legal issue. And if you are somebody who engages in this behavior where you are sharing or, blackmailing people, you're asking for trouble. But just as a human, you're also setting yourself up to look like, or not look like, to show yourself as the jerk you are, because this is the behavior you engage in.
Yeah, I like your approach, talking about it as a human. What kind of a person are you? And that's really where I lead a lot of the conversations with risk management. I'm speaking to fraternity and sorority students, and I know that all of them took an oath at the altar when they joined their organization to live their life in accordance with certain values and morals and beliefs. And a lot of them surround, academics and community service but it's also just, about how we treat each other. And if you are entrusted with one of these photos, sharing them is not in line, certainly, with the values and the oath that you took.
And
So,
if you can't be entrusted
yeah,
to hold them, look at it once and then delete it.
delete it. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's excellent, excellent advice. One of the other things that comes up a lot within fraternity and sorority life, and we've seen a ton of cases on college campuses where students are posting anonymously on this app called Yik Yak, and it's a totally anonymous website with quote unquote anonymous, with various accusations about another fraternity or sorority on campus. And many times, you look at the news, it does come from a rival organization on campus. So, is there anything that can be done about these anonymous accusations to prevent innocent people or innocent organizations from getting hurt in the process?
So first things first, there really isn't any such thing as anonymous. For the most part, there are a couple of ways to completely disguise yourself,
Mhm.
but uh, even if you have an anonymous account or you're on a platform that doesn't require accounts, there's still an IP address that it could get traced back to. So it may be hard to trace it back to you as a person, but it may come back to, oh, this is the Wi-Fi signal at this Greek house or this
Mhm.
person's residence or
Good
something
point.
like that. So
Mhm.
you still could be unmasked. Or if it's a situation where you are using a fake account to make posts, always assume that you are going to be unmasked. And so treat every post as if your name and face is going to be attached to it. So that's the creating side. But what if you are the target?
Mhm.
That's a challenging one. And that's probably when the organization wants to get in touch with its leadership, reach out to the university. Every university has a legal department. I don't know how much legal departments and Greek organizations are connected, but they can at least probably give a referral to someone local saying, here's someone you can talk to about issues like defamation. The school could probably at least do some IT work to see, is this coming from something within the school IT system?
Mhm.
Because that's a violation of the school's rights and responsibilities, likely. So there may be some things you can do to try to track down the culprit. But if it happens and you're being defamed or the organization is being defamed, there's lies, there's accusations, if nothing else, you can stand on your truth and you deal with it almost from a PR perspective. And you say, this is happening, we're looking into it. And then you say, this is the truth as we know it.
Mhm.
And sometimes that's all you can do unless you have the financial means to hire people to do the IT forensics or engage lawyers, who it may run you tens of thousands of dollars to file a lawsuit. And you have to look at all your options. The other thing you can do is look at it also, from a different PR perspective of, if this is the story that's coming up when someone Googles your name or your institution, what can you do to get that buried in the Google results? So you
Mhm.
may not be able to make it disappear, but you can combat it with other posts, other articles, to get it buried so that for somebody who's not going to go off of page one of the results, they're never going to see it.
Mm. Interesting strategies. And I like the suggestion of using the legal department at the university, contacting your headquarters if you're part of a national fraternity or sorority. Those are some really, really great points that I think makes a lot of sense. The other interesting thing is that you have lots of experience with flash mobs. You participated in one back in 2009. So interesting. What are some things that students should be aware of legally if they decide to participate in one of these flash mobs?
So yes, I have been participating in flash mobs since 2009. I think I've done 22 To
Oh,
date,
wow.
I've been an organizer of many of them, including the No Pants subway ride several times. It's a global event. That was my first one. Yes, there are pictures of me on the internet in my underwear. I will own it. So now, let me differentiate. Now, when I say flash mob, I'm talking about the unexpected happenings of people dancing or being in their underwear, or suddenly you're surrounded by a living Where's Waldo game or something like that. That's designed to surprise or delight an unsuspecting audience. I am not talking about what the media sometimes calls flash mobs, which is crimes like 4 dozen people running into a 7-Eleven and stealing everything. That is not a flash mob. That is shoplifting. So yeah, if you're going to do it, make sure that you're not breaking any laws. When my friends and I do the No Pants subway ride, one of us has to look up, okay, what does the decency law say to make sure that we are sufficiently covered? Right. And when we did a zombathalon where we dressed up like zombies and scared people along a common running path, we were thinking of things like don't touch anybody, or especially don't touch their gear, don't touch their clothing, because you get fake blood on it, you're going to get a dry cleaning bill. You touch somebody, we call that assault and battery. So so you want to think, you want to think about what's the worst thing that could happen and what's the worst thing you could be accused of doing, and avoid that. But otherwise, if it's lighthearted, innocuous, not going to hurt anybody, why not have fun? Just be ready for the pictures to be on the news, the internet, and at your next job interview, they're going to be like, is this you in your underwear on the light rail? Be like, yep.
Own it.
Yes, that is. It was a fun time.
I was thinking about this question because I was watching on TikTok the other day. There was a singer-songwriter. She wrote a song about Victoria's Secret and the fact that she felt that Victoria's Secret basically created all kinds of body image issues for her over a lifetime, and kind of in a negative way said, shame on you, you're owned by an old white man telling us women what we should be wearing. And then she created a flash mob right out in front of a Victoria's Secret store, then went to TikTok, filmed the whole thing with Victoria's Secret in the background. And I was thinking about this question, like, what kind of legal problems are you creating by doing this?
I look at it from the perspective of this is a person sharing their opinion, sharing their experience. So, okay, I kind of put it in the same category as a Yelp review. Like, this was my experience with your brand. I think it's weird that some old white guy is telling, young women what lingerie they should be wearing, which when you think about it, that is kind of weird, to a degree. And I actually was recently watching a documentary about I guess there was a connection between Victoria's Secret and Jeffrey Epstein, and there was issues there. And so, Victoria's Secret, that's something they got to be ready to own. It's like, our creator's a white guy, and there is no Victoria. It's a made up person. And I mean, and every clothing brand does have this image of what their consumer looks like, and this is who we cater to, and the things that go along with that, whether it's underwear or sportswear or shoes or whatever. Now, because it's underwear, and there's issues with what is the ideal depiction of a woman, and especially with photoshopping, how people are just sold this idea that you should have a body that really is impossible to achieve, and it is leading to issues. I think that is something that the fashion community should be looking at, and are they acting with integrity with how they put themselves out there?
Yeah, well, I mean, it also could be an opportunity for Victoria's Secret to show that maybe they are inclusive in terms of different body types and things like that. I don't know. Maybe there's a way to work with that and maybe turn it around, and maybe show where they have been. I don't know the history of Victoria's Secret. I don't pretend to, but I think that maybe there's an opportunity there for them to become a little bit more diverse in terms of the bodies that they represent and the people that they represent.
Absolutely.
So
Or it kind of reminds me of when Domino's like redid,
yeah,
like reformulated their stuff, and they
yeah,
like their ads were about like, we ordered our own food and it sucked. And so now,
right,
and so we're fixing it. And so they own their mistake and
right.
say, you know, we weren't as good as we wanted to be. So this is what we're doing instead. So it does. So anytime an issue comes up where somebody is saying, I don't like your brand, it presents an opportunity for the brand to look at themselves as, is this a one-off, or do we have an institutional or systematic problem to address?
That's a great point. I love the Domino's example because Domino's, if you look at their history, once they just admitted to the public that our pizza is terrible, then suddenly they were, with the new formulation, they were selling pizzas right and left, and they had their best sales ever after making that admission that, you know what, you're right. Our pizza sucks. It's like cardboard with tomato sauce on it, and that's not good enough. We messed up. And you know what? The American people forgave them and then buy Domino's Pizza in droves and had their best sales year ever. It's a
Mhm.
great example, a great point. Now, one other thing I see often is that fraternities and sororities seem to be using like beer logos and other familiar brands on their recruitment t-shirts. They like modify like
Mhm.
really small things. So what liability would the organization have by using a logo or a brand and slightly modifying it in order to recruit more new members for their organization?
Yeah. So I get similar questions to this when I talk at like sci-fi and comic conventions about like fan
Mhm.
art and fan fiction.
Yep.
So I'm going to give the same information because I can't give legal advice on podcasts. But the only person who can come after you for violating their intellectual property rights, so their trademark or their copyright,
Mhm.
is the owner of the intellectual property. So if they don't know or don't care about what you're doing, you're never going to get in trouble.
Hmm.
You may have issues with the university about whether or not a school organization is allowed to put alcohol branding or depictions on their shirts, but that's between you and your university. Between you and the brand, if they don't know and don't care, or they're happy for the free advertising, um, nothing may happen.
Mhm.
And most likely, um, though, if they object to what you're doing, most likely their opening volley to you is going to be a cease and desist letter,
Right.
not a lawsuit. It could be, but most of the time, if they object, they just want you to stop. Especially if you're not selling it. It was just like you did a 30-piece order and no more are going to be made. They may not care. It may not be worth it to them. Um, or they may never find out.
Yeah. Well, you bring up another good point, which is, is alcohol really a suitable, branding for a fraternity or sorority? I would argue absolutely not. I mean, posting 12 bottles of Everclear on your social media account for your student organization, this does not seem like it's aligned with the values of the organization to me. It just doesn't seem that way. And I think you're setting really, number one, it's not in line with your values. Number two, what kind of people are you going to really be recruiting with that message? Probably the people that only show up for the social events but are unwilling to do any of the work when it comes to being a leader in the organization, doing community service, academics. These things are secondary.
Mhm. And what kind of reputation do you want your organization to have?
Right. Right. I mean, what do we stand for? Is it beer, or, are we getting into the leadership business? I feel like the fraternity and sorority community really needs to get into the leadership business and forget about the liquor business. That's not our business. That is not our business at all. And so something certainly I think to think about. Okay. So should recent graduates or even college students, if they're doing an internship, should they be using social media while they're at work using company phones or company computers?
No, I do, because it's one, if it's on their system, so they're going to be able to see it. Some companies even have stroke capturing things, so they see like your keystrokes, so
Mhm.
you will maybe inadvertently giving them your password. They will be seeing what sites you're going to. The company may have policies about don't be on social media on company time, because if you're on social media, unless you're in the marketing department, you're not working, which is, you're not paid to be on TikTok or Instagram or whatever platform we're on this week. So no, don't put your phone on the company Wi-Fi, because again, they could see what you're doing. If you want to check your phone while you're in the bathroom with, where nobody can see it and the sound's off, as long as you're not in there for like 30 minutes, you're probably fine. I've done it. But never would I do it on on a company computer, company Wi-Fi, company anything, because they can see that and I would be showing them that I'm a crap employee.
Yeah, great
Again,
points.
caveat, if you're in the marketing department, it might be different.
Right. Great points, and really good for our listeners to consider as they're doing their internships and as they get their first job. That answer is spot on. We love good food here at the Fraternity Foodie Podcast, and I need to know where I should go for a great meal when I'm in Phoenix, Arizona. So where should I go?
God, this was actually like the hardest question, because I'll admit I'm a vegan with the palate of a 5-year-old. So I have to be like, okay, like where do normal people like to go? So I'm in Phoenix. We have amazing Mexican food. 2 places that people like rave about that are kind of hole in the wall places
Mhm.
are Carolina's and Rito's. I'm a fan of Oso, which is, I forget what it stands for. It's a brewery that is very dog friendly. I wrote my Basset Hound into my contract at work. And so I like that this is the place where I can take my dog, I can order myself a vegan burger, I can order her own burger patty, and they make dog treats out of the spent grain that they use to make their beer.
Perfect. Perfect for the environment, perfect for the dog. Everybody's happy.
Exactly.
I love it. This has been great. All right. So, if our student listeners, if they want to connect with you or bring you in to speak on their college campus, what is the best way for them to connect with you?
Easiest way to find me is if you just look up Ruth Carter Lawyer online, I will pop up. Geeklawfirm.com is my main website, so you can probably see, connect with me on all my socials through there. But yeah, I'm pretty easy to find online. It's one of the benefits of having an old lady name.
Ruth B. Carter, Esquire. I love it. I love it. I love it. To all of our students, please, please make sure you go and check out Ruth B. Carter, Esquire online. The YouTube channel is absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much for what you do. I am so appreciative.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Of course, to our college students, if you like this conversation, please like it on social media. Please share it online with other college students that need to hear this message. And we hope to see you on another episode of the Fraternity Foodie Podcast. Thanks so much for joining us. We will see you next time.